In Response, a legacy podcast, is brought to you by greatness@anycost.com and Austrian-legacy.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 14th episode of
In Response,
A legacy podcast.
I'm Philip Klein,
I am Daniel.
And I'm Peter Plank.
and we're talking about legacy.
Most of the time.
So, this is the first episode in the new year, in the year 2021. I've
Oh my God, we made it
Oh,
this far. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm kind of hyped already.
Yeah. 2020 is over, so
Yeah.
only good stuff happens now.
How about we call this year 2020.2.0 or something like that?
You mean the new version of 2020?
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely, it feels like this. Nothing changed. Everything stayed the same. So basically, it's
time went
2020 reloaded.
Yeah.
I'll be back. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at least we have a vaccine on the horizon, so there is a little bit to dream about. I mean, when we started into 2020, there was no corona happening in Europe. I mean, it was in China, I think, starting in January. But yeah, no feelings about that in the last year, in the beginning.
Now we've got a glimmer of hope on the horizon, and maybe we can go back to kind of normality in next year, maybe even a little bit sooner. I hope it would be great. I'm just so sick of it, of all this, of all the lockdown that's happening, and I can't even remodel my closet like I wanted to because everything's closed down, and it's so exhausting.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but you say that it's kind of you are sick of it. I am already in the mood of I just don't care. You know what I mean? It's just. I mean, yeah, I really miss the things that are open, but it has developed to be such a normality that I just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah,
honestly. I mean, not about the precautions, but the situations. I try to make the
yeah,
best
for sure,
out of it.
for sure. I mean,
some way.
it's basically the same for me. I don't care. Also, not really anymore. I don't really listen to any kind of news because um, they really turn the mood down sometimes, and I try to keep a positive mindset all the time. Um, but such things like, hey, I just need a new ceiling light, or something like that, or just, hey, go to the Home Depot and buy some new screwdrivers, or a drill, or a new drill, or something, and do some home renovations. Um, and you can't do that, and you're just you always need to
You can't do that, yeah.
um, uh, to to go online shopping, and that's just so. Yeah, I want to have these things in my hand, and I want to look for the best, and it's kind of a nice um, activity to do. I really like going to the Home Depot, and watching all the tools, and the stuff that I could do with it, and that's basically the thing I miss the most at the moment.
So basically, you miss going to Obi.
Yeah, basically.
That's what I understand here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Obi is what we have in Austria as the, like you said, Philip, like the Home Depot,
Yeah.
the place where you can buy all the how's it called?
Yeah, the work stuff, basically.
The work stuff.
Yeah, I basically I like Hornbach and
Yeah.
Bauhaus der
Yeah.
Poster.
I'm sorry, I forgot those.
Yeah, but does your brother not have a? I don't know how the English equivalent is. It's basically if you have a company that you are allowed to go shopping, because my
If you have a permit that you are a company and you need to um, basically shop for system relevant things, then you can do this. Um, but then but everything you buy has to be for the company and is
okay,
therefore has to be how I'm not sure how do you call it um, in the
yeah. So you mean that everything should show up in the recipes of the company, that it was bought by the company itself and was used for it.
oh yeah.
You mean the accounting?
Oh yeah, for sure. And so it's not as simple as that. So that he could just say, yeah, you can shop there and get all your needs because everything. Yeah, because I would buy them for myself and not for the company, and so that's not
Yeah.
possible. And so I'm looking forward to the end of this lockdown. I hope they don't extend it any further. But
Yeah,
what
I don't have any hopes
what
to it.
has to be done must be done. We can't change
Yeah.
anything, and we just have to keep a positive mindset and go with the flow in this regard here, and just hope for the best and for the vaccine to hit as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting for it to
Really hard.
get it into my body, that I can start with some
Oh,
doing
yeah.
something else, because yeah, as I've told multiple times on the podcast
Oh, yeah.
already, I'm currently studying, and it's yeah really hard to keep a good mindset about learning new things, study for your courses without meeting your colleagues at the university a single time in a semester and a single time in a year. Without, I mean, I don't mean going for a party, but just learning together, talking about stuff, and yeah, the concentration level at home from distance learning is just not as high as at university.
Yeah, I completely see what you mean by that. I'm really happy that I don't that I'm not in this situation or this current state of the study that you are in. Actually, I have to say, because I went through all this, and I can fully back you up on what you stated here. That the contact with the students, the colleagues, is so important in the study. A lot of people are disregarding this and are slowly but surely just losing hold and track of what's going on in the study. And usually those people are the people that are falling behind in the study.
Yeah.
This is according to my experience at least, and
Yeah.
I had a group of people that we learned together, and it's so important that you actually can meet and talk about things, not just partying, like you said.
Yeah.
So I fully understand what you mean here.
Just talking about the stuff you learn. I mean, it's as simple as that. You are sitting in a course, you have something going on in front, the professor talks about basic statistics or something like that, and you're just I don't get it right. I think I'm near it. How does it work, or something like that, to your neighbor that is sitting beside you, and he's just you have to think about that, and bam, easy, you have it. And now online, you're sitting by yourself. You are your cells are crunching. You are thinking hard about it. Then you miss the next topic, and it spirals down and out of control. I mean, it's not that bad for me, but it happens, and
And I gotta say, I just miss hanging out with you guys in person and recording this podcast in person, it's just so much easier to get in the flow and to get into this whole podcasting and recording thing
Yeah,
when you're in the same room. And it's also a little bit
that's true.
better with our equipment.
I mean, you guys have nice setups
And
over the time acquired now, so it's definitely not the
Yeah.
best.
yeah, and there will be even better setups in
Oh, yeah,
the
and
future.
we
Soon to
should
be.
keep an eye on that or look forward to that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think we talked about it at the podcast before that we wanted to make it visually via YouTube and some stuff like that. And yeah, it's basically all in planning besides that, or we are thinking about it and are postponing it since lockdown is happening and we aren't allowed to meet up in person. So yeah.
Live streams over YouPorn, YouTube, of course, or
Our OnlyFans is available.
yeah.
where you can get a look under the table and yeah,
Yeah.
nothing on there.
Then you can see our home office setup. Which
Oh,
is
yeah.
no pants on, of course. Because you only need t-shirts and sweaters or whatever.
Whatever we are using.
That's the home office attire. Yeah, speaking of streaming, we are all how do you say that?
Eliminated.
Out of contention
eliminated,
from
destroyed.
from the Austrian. Yeah, we got destroyed. Oh my god, we got so totally destroyed. Yeah, we're totally out of contention from the Austrian Legacy League Cup. The first one to the first one who was eliminated from us was Peter in Group B. We thought it was at least one. We had at least one who could stream the cup and to commentate on this, and the next one was Daniel, who was eliminated in Group C, and then we were like, "Oh yeah, baby, the stream is saved. We've got two guys who can easily stream the next the quarterfinals and the semifinals and the big grand final." And then we go forward to Group D, and it was my turn to get brutally crushed and got eliminated with a whopping 1-2.
I mean, it's
in
better
in my
than Peter and me. I think, Peter, you also did a 0-3 finish.
I also did a 0-3,
Yeah,
but
like
I was
myself.
live until the last game. And yeah, there I think I talked about it in last episode, but yeah,
Yeah.
I drew for about 10 turns or so, no white source with, I think, 9 positive outs out of 40 cards or something like that. I think it was a 0.001% chance that I will lose the game, but yeah, I did.
Sometimes.
Oh, I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah, shit happens. Whatever.
But-
At least we can be together in commentating and doing this streaming.
Yeah,
Which is
for
nice.
sure. And maybe, I mean, it's in the near future, but if lockdown ends on the 24th of January, maybe we can cast the final together or something like that, which would be
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
really, really cool. And,
that would be huge.
but yeah, would be something that is a nice to have, yeah.
Oh yeah. So with this, Daniel, tell us about your experience, about your 0-3 in the cup.
I mean, it basically comes down to, I would call it like a God sign that I'm just not meant to be playing in this cup. I think the most memorable moment for me was when I had basically the win against Manuel Danninger, who was playing Hogak. And my plan was, I had a setup. I had exactly 5 mana, and my plan was to cast, I don't know, tutor into Ad Nauseam next turn. And
No, you had 5 mana on the 6 mana on the table
and
with
the
an
talisman.
LED.
And the talisman,
And-
yeah.
And the talisman.
And my idea was to get talisman and cracking LED alongside it, and then getting Ad Nauseam. And of course, what was my next draw step? I just drew Ad Nauseam. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh god.
Out of all cards, this is the one I drew. Yeah, but whatever. Of course, the line didn't work then because I was missing 3 mana from that moment on, and I think I just got destroyed 1 or 2 turns later. And yeah, out of the other games, I don't remember much. I think sometimes, I don't know if you have had the same experiences playing combo decks. Sometimes you just feel a little bit helpless because you're so dependent on the top decks of your deck that you're drawing, because oftentimes you run out of cantrips, you ponder shuffle all the time, or you brainstorm, put back to bad cards, and then fetch and whatsoever, and then suddenly you're out of cantrips, and then you're relying on the top of your deck, and it just doesn't come together. Sometimes these things happen in Storm, and as long as you don't draw 1 key piece or something like that, basically all cards in your hand are kind of non-existent, because they don't have an impact in the game, if you know what I mean.
For sure.
If you have a bunch of rituals and lions and diamonds and even a discard spell, and you're just looking a tutor, basically until you draw the tutor, your hand is completely worthless, and it just doesn't impact the game at all. And it just feels like you're waiting for some miracle to happen, and your opponent is just playing Magic. Yeah, I mean, it is basically...
And it's beating down on
Yeah,
you.
I mean...
Bam, 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 bam.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was the same for me for the whole tournament. As I said, I played Band Paint, an all-in combo deck version, and it was the same for me. You were really reliant on top decks. You had to draw some key cards, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it does not. For me, it was maybe the Mulligan decision that wasn't all right all the time, and I'm 100% certain of that. But yeah, as it happens in Storm 2, I mean, you have 4 more cantrips with Ponder, but yeah, sometimes this end you have had to top deck something, and it happens, and it's all right that sometimes you go 0-3 in a tournament. It happens to the best of us, and I think it's, if you keep a positive mindset, you play accordingly to your wins, it's everything fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just wanted to say, Daniel, I can totally feel you as a predominantly combo player that plays without blue, so without cantrips. I know the feeling that you just need to draw 1 of your 18 outs in the deck, and then you're good to go, and that just doesn't come together, and you always feel a little bit helpless, and like you said, the cards in your hand are basically worthless. They don't do anything. They win the game or they do nothing. That's a kind of hard pill to swallow. But I think it's the nature of the combo piles
Yeah.
in general.
And you have to add that if the deck works, you kind of make the opponent feel that they don't play Magic at some point. So it's kind of it keeps the balance in this regard sometimes.
Yeah, like people say, fun is a zero-sum
Yeah.
game. So
Yeah.
either you get all the fun or they get all the fun.
Yeah, it's basically Magic is like I mean it's if you keep drinking as a if you drink on Friday, you take the fun out of the Saturday because you have a headache on the next day if you drink too much. And it's for
Oh, you don't know me.
and for Magic, either one player has double fun and one player has no fun, and yeah, it's basically the same. So, kids, Magic is like drinking.
So people take notes. Peter's wise words
Yeah.
here spoken.
All hail the prophet.
Wise words from Peter.
We could do a new segment in the podcast. Like we have some new wise words every every episode or something like that.
Yeah, I think
Wise words.
I can try that.
I don't know if this is a good idea, but I think it.
We will find out, definitely.
Definitely in next episode of WWT Wise Words Peter. So yeah.
Yeah, Philip, what about your experience actually? Because you started to talk about your experience of, let's say, playing combo decks. You played Black Death in the tournament, but
Yeah,
you didn't make it as well, unfortunately.
oh yeah, we finished all on third place, so we couldn't advance. Yeah, I feel the problem was that I wasn't playing blue. Yeah.
I mean, it
Yeah.
didn't help Peter and myself, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean I wasn't playing pawn in my deck.
Yeah, that was the mistake.
So shame on you. That was definitely a mistake. Like not playing blue is always definitely a mistake in Legacy in 2020, 2021 or 20 2.0.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think although I was really excited to play this deck and it felt great when it did what it was meant to do, sometimes it's just funny, like you have everything going on. You just need one land, and then you can try this line, and your opponent draws exactly the piece that disrupts you. It's just so. I don't understand why this always happens. It could be bias here. It probably is bias here, but the way my matches played out, it was just a really hard beating for me, and my opponents always had the thing they needed drawn in the right time, and that's not even with cantrips. So they they haven't dug for it or something, so they just ripped it off the top, and oh yeah, that's the wasteland.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I got kind of unlucky with my draws. You, Peter, said you haven't drawn a white source out of 9 possible draws or
I
something?
think it was 9 possible draws with about 40 cards left in my deck, so 9 out of the 40 cards weren't out, and then for 10 turns I didn't draw a white source. So
Oh yeah.
it was basically
So basically,
yeah. So 9 out
So yeah,
of
the
40,
same happened
9
for
out
me.
of 39, it was insane.
yeah, so something relatable happened to me. I was stuck on 1 black source for 8 rounds, or 8 turns of the game, and couldn't find one of my other, I think, 16 black sources. And yeah, sometimes these things happen, and that cost me the game.
Yeah.
And I think the game versus Ragdelver I just threw away, because I had basically the win locked up. I had a Pithing Needle on Oko, had a Karn, the Great Creator out. Um, also, also an Ensnaring Bridge and zero, one card in hand. It was a Tendrils of Agony that I could cast, but I decided against it. Minus the Karn, got the Mycosynth Lattice, and I knew from my Delver opponent that he had two. So he had two Delvers on board, and they didn't flip last turn. So his the one card in their hand was a non-Delver flip. So it was either a land, a Planeswalker, or a creature. The next one was a Daze, so that his Delver flipped, and the last one was unknown card. And basically what I did was I sacrificed with the Lake of the Dead a swamp, tapped my lands, made 7 mana, took Mycosynth Lattice from my sideboard, played around Daze, and ran directly into the one-off Spellgreaves.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I knew 2 from his free cards, and then I died to Delver.
I mean,
Which the Ensnaring Bridge couldn't hold off any further because he wasted the Lake of the Dead. I was stuck on 3 lands then. I couldn't play the Tendrils. I couldn't play the Ill-Gotten Gains. I drew the next turn, and then I couldn't play the Echo of Eons. I drew the over next turn. So, and then the Delver killed me.
So you had no Lines of Diamond in your sideboard.
On board. No.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be an improvement for the deck if you play a Lines of Diamond in the sideboard.
Yeah, I sometimes boarded one out, but not because this was game 1. I hadn't
Okay.
have any
Okay.
in the sideboard.
Stuff.
And I don't think free LEDs in the main deck is right.
yeah, I mean, either I was just I wanted to add that Lions of Diamond I think should never be in the sideboard. Honestly, never.
Yeah,
I would never bought it out.
With
even.
the calm package, it's kind of fine.
Nah, I don't think
If
so.
you're playing Echo of Eons in the main deck, you can wish for the LED to enable it, and for the painter decks, it gives you the 3 mana you need to win next turn, because if you can out, with painter you have only 4 mana on the table, and you can LED then to have the excess mana to cast with Grindstone the next turn.
Okay.
It's in the painter universe. It's a pretty common sideboard piece.
Yeah, this is the painter universe, or let's say the Karn world, that you can maybe summarize it that way, because I think the Urza decks would also possibly do things like that, but I wouldn't really call the Black Death deck from Philip a Karn deck. It is still, I think, more stormy kind of. I mean, yeah, it's all kind of combos jammed together, but I think the LEDs would be stronger in the main deck in such a deck.
Yeah, the LEDs only make sense.
I also think so.
If you are playing like 4 Khans in the main deck or something like that.
Yeah,
Not with the 2 pieces I think Philip is playing.
that's yeah, exactly what I was trying to say. Yeah.
And to summarize this, this was the one game where if I just would have wished for Painter Servant and then wished for the Grindstone, with the mana I could have just won on the spot here.
Yeah.
Or not on the spot, but over the 2 turns, and even without making myself vulnerable to the counter magic, he would have needed a Force of Negation or a Force of Will then. So basically I threw this game away. Um, Also versus Devon Texas. Devon Texas did Devon Texas things like curving out with turn one deafening silent into Thalia, into Caracas, into Damping Sphere, and the surgical backup,
Yeah.
which is kind of obnoxious here.
Was a fine game to cast, I have to say.
Oh yeah. And also Wasteland for attack depth also yeah. Um, that just couldn't work. But I was still alive even after losing 2 games. I just had to win my last match that was versus Goblins, where I made my first painter kill ever with this deck. So I learned from my mistakes and I killed my opponent with painter then. And yeah, but unfortunately, my Devon Texas opponent won then versus the Ragdelver player, and so so they both finished with 10 points in the first and second place, and I finished with 9 points in the third place. Yeah, that was basically it. It was my experience with the Australian Legacy League Cup. I really liked the format or the tournament style that we're playing. It's really cool and something new and refreshing. And I think we should do things like that more often. Maybe in a shorter time frame. But I think it's we will see how the quarterfinals and the semifinals work out.
Which are on which day coming up now?
On Friday.
So the same day this podcast episode is airing.
Yeah.
So
It should be 4 hours later.
So the perfect
So-
Friday is settled for every In Response listeners. Just listen to our episode and then
Oh, yeah.
go ahead and watch our stream. Nice.
It's on twitch.tv/Austrian_legacy and it's airing on 20 p.m. CET. Or that's basically, I think it's 6 hours.
It's 14 o'clock
Um,
CET, I think it is.
EST.
EST.
14 o'clock
Yeah.
EST.
Okay. Yeah.
And where we are starting with the first 2 quarterfinals. And have we already decided? Do we play
Best of 5, I think. I think so.
Best of
yeah.
5? Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
I
that's
think
nice.
so, yeah. I mean, I'm not completely sure, but I think that we are playing now up to the up with quarterfinals, best of 5s.
Oh yeah, that's the I also think it's like that because that's the reason we only have 2 matches this Friday and have the next 2 quarterfinals next week. Also on Friday, 20 p.m. CET or 14 o'clock EST. And this is also with best of 5 matches.
Yeah. So
Speaking of the first quarterfinals, I think the first match we will stream is Absent Maverick versus Ragdelver. And then the next one is Black White Eldrazi versus Devon Texas.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the matches on Friday. I think this is basically it for the All Cup actually.
Oh yeah, just tune in, say hello to us, and it will be a great stream like all the streams we had so far.
With that, I think we can head over to another topic that we kind of made up on the fly. Before we started the session, we originally had another topic to talk about. Maybe we can do this at another time. The topic on hand right now is, I don't know how we got there, but it's reprint policy and deck prices in general. what can we say about this topic?
Yeah, it's basically that we were talking about stack prices and how it's now, really, really hard to acquire decks. And
Um, Peter, just to for our listeners, um, how did we got there? If how did we got there to talk about this specific topic? I think it was because I was a little bit fed up with my latest play experiences, and I just said, "Yeah, I do what I have sworn I would never done," and switch to the dark side of Magic and play Snowco. And then we went over the deck lists, and um, we've seen that even with rental services, I wouldn't be able, or even Peter wouldn't be able to rent a fully functioning Snowco deck.
yeah, it's basically we brewed up together as the crew a few weeks ago, Grixis the Doomsday Pile, and I played it yesterday with a friend of mine in the Discord. And yeah, it's basically just my rental limit with it was basically around 950 ticks. And I have currently with Mana Traders 955 ticks available. And yeah, we are getting now pretty close with basically every blue deck, and especially blue decks that are playing green, because yeah, an Oko, not an Oko, an Uro is around 75 to 80 ticks. A Force of Negation is about 80 ticks, and the Blazed Force of Will is around 160 ticks. And if you're playing 3 Uros, 2 Force of Negation and 4 Force of Will, it's basically around 620 to 630 ticks, and it's basically insane.
Just for those cards.
It's just 8
no
cards.
mana base, no duels, no fetches, no anything that that could be remotely played anywhere else.
Yeah,
Just these fire cards.
yeah. It's. I mean, Force of Will isn't a fire card, but yeah, it's
It's also the cheapest from these.
yeah. It's the ground level you need to have, or you need to acquire to play a blue deck basically at the time. I mean, subtract Uro from it, but yeah, you need at least the 2 Force of Negation and the 4 Force of Will, and these are over 300 ticks. So it's pretty much insane right now. And yeah, then we were talking about the prices we have for paper decks, and there we were thinking about an MTG Goldfish article from Saffron Olive. Maybe we can link it in the show notes if you find it. There he was comparing the modern deck prices from time to time, from 1 year or 2 years ago, and how they compared to the decks now. And the deck pieces changed. And the card prices changed for the existing pieces, but the deck prices stayed nearly the same. And it didn't make any sense, basically. And yeah, that's it. We reprint old cards. These cards gain or lose a lot of value. And yeah, it's really, really good that new players can acquire the cards for the game for a cheap cost. But the problem is that new cards get printed into the format, are printed into these decks that you need to acquire, and they have a pretty hefty price point. If we are talking about an Uro, it's around 40 euros or around $50 or something like that. In paper, we are talking about the Force of Negation, which is 45 euros, or I think 55 to $60 in paper. And these card prices are from last year, or now one and a half year ago. And yeah, these are Force of Negation is in a rare. I mean, it was in a really special set because it was a non-standard other kind of print-on-demand set with Modern Horizons.
Basically a supplemental product.
Yeah, a special supplemental product. But if you're talking about Conspiracy or the Commander draft set we had, this these were around, I think, €3.69 or something like that, or €4 a pack, and these were €7 a pack. So with these, it doesn't help anything with the card prices. They only have the price point because these are cards for modern, and modern players want to spend more, or not want to spend more, or are willing to spend more money on byproducts.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it before we started the session. In general, I don't think this is a big problem that the cards are expensive, but I see that it is pushing people away from the format if the cards that are expensive are changing so quickly and so heavily over almost a short period of time that a format like Legacy is used to be. We're almost experiencing, like I mentioned before, an artificial Legacy rotation or something like that, however you would call it. So, I mean, I think that the cards from the Fire Philosophy or 2019 will be kind of a mainstay in the format because they're just so powerful. And I think we will talk about this later, but new sets are coming, like for example the Kaldheim Sparrows now. Sets look a lot more, balanced than they were in 2019, and a little bit of 2020 was also still a problem. I think Uro was in 2020, for example.
It was Uro, Breach, and the Companions that were the problem in
exactly,
2020, and then it ended.
Then it ended, yeah. So since we are seeing an end to this problem of the, let's call it, Fire Philosophy, I think overall it will be like we used to experience Legacy in maybe a year or two from now. That if a new player comes into the format, it now has to buy an Oko or a Force of Negation. And in the past, if you would enter Legacy, you would have to buy a Chase or how's it called? Other expensive pieces that are now
the
Snapcaster, exactly. Yeah, those pieces were the pieces to get, and $50 or plus dollars or euros or whatever. And these cards change now. So for us people that are in the format in the past and are experiencing the changes of the card pools every year and every set, for us it's a big, not really a problem, but it's just costly if you want to keep up with the game. But after this period, I think, Legacy will just be overhauled, and it looks now a little bit different. We now have 8 forces in the format. And if you want to play the format, you
basically need
all 8, and it's basically the staples of the format at some point, I think.
Yeah, and especially regarding Force of Negation, I don't see Force of Negation going anywhere because it's, in my opinion, the worse. I don't think if worse is the right term here, but it's not, in my opinion, not as strong as Force of Will, and it would be strange to talk about banning a worse version of an already existing card.
A ban talk of Force of Negation?
Some people are addressing the problem of 8 forces in the format because 8 forces for the fair blue decks are really huge, and there is kind of not really a ban talk, but there is kind of a talk about how 8 forces in Legacy might be too much.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
for the format in general.
Does this revolve around a famous combo play in the format?
I don't know.
I think that
actually.
the talk was
I can't recall here
by
now.
Brian Cook, And
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
yeah, I think 8 forces are not a problem. The problem is that we have a lot of recurring card advantage in the format, and I think this is addressed more easily than with a ban to one of the 2 forces we have in the format, basically.
I don't want to talk about banning any forces because I just wanted to say it's strange if we ever get there to even talk about bannings from a worse card than a card that exists and that doesn't get touched.
Yeah, it's basically if
It
we
would
would,
be kind of strange.
if we would ban Ponder and we still have Brainstorm in the format, something like that.
Or preordain and then keep Ponder.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah. So as Daniel
And back to topic here, yeah. So Peter, go on.
yeah, as Daniel said, the valuable pieces change now. So we have to reacquire some valuable cards from time to time as an existing players. It isn't that big of a problem. I mean, it's going into the wallet and could be a problem for the wallet for some players. But yeah, that means at least that the format is changing a little bit, that we have a flow in the format and it doesn't get stellar. And I think that's a plus too.
Yeah, it's a pro and con situation. I mean, sometimes the appeal of Legacy in the past was that you can just buy one deck, invest in your favorite pile of cards that you want to play, and the idea was that you could play these cards for years and years, and
Yeah, for sure.
maybe get a kind of gauntlet with a little bit of more sideboard options and things to switch around, and basically you have your deck at this point. So, but of course, the format might get, like you said, stellar and boring at some point, and in that case, a little bit of a switch up is also beneficial for the breadth of the format.
I mean, I don't advocate for a 50 euro card mythic for every standard set that is a must include in Legacy. I am advocating for once a year we have a really, not a really big impact card, but on the format, but on 1 or 2 particular decks. And if we have that, I think we're fine with it. We have, I think, 20, 30, 40 various decks we can play in the format, which are fine and will do fine in a tournament and can top 8 or something like that, or at least can top 60 in a bigger tournament. And yeah, if 2 to 4 of these get an upgrade a year or something like that, that isn't a problem. The problem is if, once a year, 2 decks get an upgrade, so they are now the clear favorites to win a tournament and have 55 to 60% win percentage or something like that, which is basically what Ren and 6 did. So, yeah.
So,
Oh yeah, Modern Horizons was a mess.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
So
In
let's hope-
hindsight, it's
Let's hope for a good Modern Horizon 2.
yeah,
with a Force of Negation reprint. I still need some of them, and I think I am really joining the dark side here. People who don't listen to our podcast in our community will be shocked to see me playing such a deck.
Yeah, I mean, and I think with Modern Horizon 2 we get the reprints from, I think these are the enemy fetch lands.
yeah.
Oh yeah, the enemy fetchlands,
Yeah.
the Zendikar ones.
Yeah, will be reprinted in there, and I really look forward to acquire my last 2.
You're just making things up here. You don't know that they're reprinted. They are just that Wizards said that they will be reprinted this year. Am I right?
They
Am I
said
right?
they will
Or
reprint
are
it.
they confirmed?
They are confirmed for Q4 for 2021, if I remember correctly. And I think that the only logical set would be, basically Modern Horizon 2.
Modern Horizons 2. Okay.
Because I don't think that they will print it in the standard set and say they are banned now. I don't think so. And they had to ban it in Pioneer 2. So
Is the Dungeons and Dragons set in the summer? Is this a standard legal?
yeah, it's standard legal in Q2, I think so.
Okay.
So after Kaldheim.
It should be the set after Kaldheim, yeah. Or is it Strixhaven? Could be too.
No, it's Strixhaven. The
second set.
The set after Kaldheim is Strixhaven, and then we're going to Faerun, to the Forgotten Realms.
Then we have Dungeons and Dragons, and then we have Vampires versus Werewolves or something like that.
Oh yeah, Innistrad. The return to
Return to Innistrad, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to the return to Ravnica or something like that.
All jokes aside, I think this year will have some really nice designs, really cool ideas regarding sets from WotC. And I'm really hyped. I'm hyped for Kaldheim. I'm hyped for Strixhaven, not so much, but for the D&D set, for Modern Horizons, for Innistrad.
And Time Spiral Remastered.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! Time Spiral
A man
Remastered.
can
Have
only
you
get
seen
so
that?
hard.
Oh my God! I just almost dropped the F word. It's
Yeah.
great. I need these old border cards. That's I don't know why they have taken so long for why it's taken them so long to do this, but that's something I would have loved for years, and I'm looking forward basically the whole year just for Time Spiral Remastered.
Yeah, I think the Leaving a Legacy crew pitched the idea, I think, about 2 years ago, if you remember it correctly, to I'm completely missing the name. He is on basically every...
To Gavin?
To Gavin Burhey. Thank you. And yeah, they're doing it now, and I can only wait for it.
Oh yeah, so shut up and take my money.
yeah, for sure. Shut up and take our money. And speaking of that, we have some Kaldheim spoilers that we can talk about. If we talk about new sets, I don't think there are. Since we talk about the reprint policy, etc., there is not much that is really seeming to be heavily impacting a format like Legacy. But there are at least some interesting cards that we can look over and give you guys an opinion about the cards. What card should we start with, actually?
I think we will start with T-Balt's Trickery, which is basically a red counterspell. It costs 1 generic and 1 red. It's an instant counter target spell. Choose 1, 2, or 3. At random, its controller mills that many cards, then exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card with a different name than that spell. They may cast a card without paying its mana cost, then they put the exile cards on the bottom of their library in a random order.
Very wild card.
At first, I gotta say, I love the flavor. I love the artwork. I was always a huge fan of Tybalt, and I really like that he has got some spotlight here. I think it's a cool character, and this card in particular is very interesting because a red counterspell isn't really something that happens often, especially in standard legal sets.
Yeah, and if it happens, it always...
And this one is efficiently costed also, so it has the potential to do something.
I mean, it's just a wild and... I mean, it fits to red and the idea of red, which is, I don't know, chaos. But it's really hard to evaluate a card like that, I think. I mean, you also have to choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. For example, that strikes me a little bit odd.
Yeah, I think it's so you can't set it
With
up with
exactly.
brainstorm or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you know you don't have the counter and it doesn't would have said choose 1, 2, or 3, and your opponent counters your show and tell with the trickery, and then you just put the
Yeah.
Emrakul on top.
Exactly. So your opponent can actually. This is actually actually a good point. If you would be able to choose at your own will. Speaking of being the Tibalt's Trickery's controller of the spell, then you could actually force it a little bit in your favor. For example, I'm thinking about this scenario like you said, Philip, I think. When you want to counter a show and tell, and you want to counter it with the Tibalt's Trickery, your opponent can brainstorm in response, put the Emrakul on top, and if the random, or let's say put the Emrakul a second from the top, and if your random number happens to be 1, your opponent still gets your Emrakul, which is really bad.
Yeah.
Actually, if you would be able to choose at your own will, this would not be able to happen. Which is downside, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that this card is really good. I think it can be a neat card. Maybe someone can develop a combo deck for the format or something like that. I'm just thinking about something like Recross the Paths, which is played in Modern Charbelcher, which allows you to stack your whole deck, basically, and then you can stack, you can make a good Tibalt's Trickery, which would mean that the second, the third, and the fourth card are the same, and the fifth card is a different one, and the fifth card you want to cast. I see that. Maybe seeing some play. And another thing I read about is maybe combine it with a Teferi, the 3-costed one. They aren't allowed to play the spell because they had to cast it not as a sorcery but as an instant.
That's true, yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's basically a hard counter for 1 and a red that mills your opponent. That's kind of a neat interaction you got
The
there.
problem is,
but you have counter spells for 2. So
if you have Teferi, you're already blue. So why would you play this card? This is
a Pyroblast would be better.
I thought because you were talking about Modern Charbelcher, I thought you were talking about Modern here. I don't think I can see it playing in Modern because of such an interaction, because you don't have counterspell directly in the format.
Yeah.
And it's definitely, if you have a Teferi out on the battlefield, Tibalt's Trickery is basically a really good or a hard counter for 1 and a red, which doesn't exist there. But back to Legacy, maybe it's playable in Burn or Burn sideboards or mono red sneak and show sideboards against the unfavorable combo matchups.
Yeah.
As a combo hoser here.
Yeah, but I think currently we have a really cool card in Burn that is played, which is played in the main deck, which is a pretty new addition to the deck. It's basically an enchantment which hoses some combo decks, and I have it here, and the enchantment is called Roiling Vortex, which basically pings your opponent and yourself each turn, and if a spell was cast and no mana was spent to cast the spell, it deals 5 damage to the player, which is basically a neat hate piece against something like Omniscience in Show and Tell, or something like Delver, because Force of Will and Daze are not allowed to play it now, and basically against Storm 2 because they are not allowed to drop any 0 mana artifacts.
Yeah, they are still allowed, but this costs a huge chunk of life.
Yeah,
So this
basically,
But I
It-
really like the Roiling Vortex.
it
from the
replaced
burn list. It's so cool.
Sulfuric Vortex pretty much one by one.
Yeah, it deals 1 damage less each turn. You have to pay if your opponent isn't allowed to gain any life. You have to pay 1 mana to activate this ability. But yeah, I think the upside to hating on Omniscience combo decks is really, really high in the format currently. Because they're
Also just hating on Daze and Force of Will and Force of Negation is probably enough for an inclusion.
Yeah, for sure. Because normally you want to wait on the last or the second to last burn spell that would finish you, that you fight over. I mean, with Daze you fight over the early turns, but with Force of Will you fight over the later turns. Because the only spell that matters is the last that would kill you. And with that, I think it changes a little bit. But yeah, I think that's enough about T-Wolf's trickery. I think we agree that we would most likely see it in maybe a modern deck or something like that, or in a burn or a mono red sideboard against Storm. But maybe it has some impact on the format, but I don't think that it will be huge.
Yep.
And yeah, with that we come to the next card, which is Realm Walker. It costs 2 generic and 1 green. It's a creature, it's a shapeshifter, it's a changeling, so it's every creature type. As Realm Walker enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast creature cards of the chosen type from the top of your library. And yeah, for me, these cards will or can see play in 2 decks. One of these decks is Elves. It fits really nicely there. It's tutorable with Green Sun Zenith and can act as a 5th glimpse of nature or something like that. And the other deck that can see impact with it is Slivers.
Oh yeah, definitely for Slivers. Slivers historically lack some kind of card draw. That would fit here really nice and fill this niche role. Also, what I'm thinking about when I look at this card and when you read it out aloud, I think it also would make a nice fit for a deck like Rag Elementals, which got toyed around with last summer with Risen Reef and Shenanigans.
Yeah, that was the competitive legacy deck I was thinking about. Yeah,
You know me.
yeah,
At least I'm playing. I'm delving into good colors now.
yeah, for sure. You're playing Teemo there, am I right?
Oh yeah, it's Rag.
It's Rag Elementals. So yeah, I think for various creature tribe decks, this can have some really positive impact. It is not overpowered. It would be debatable if it had this can't be counted and every creature spell with this creature type can't be counted or something like that on it.
And escape, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life, and you draw a card and make a land drop like this.
Something like that. Something like that. I was thinking about. So,
it has to be a
yeah.
6/6 to be playable, I think, as well, maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's still a 3 mana card that dives to bolt, which is something like that. But yeah, I mean in Slivers it wouldn't die to bolt, so because you would have a lord out there. But I think this card
Or a crystalline.
or a crystalline sliver. So I think this card can have some really positive impact on Slivers or something like that. It wouldn't be played as a forward. It would maybe played as a 2-off or something like that, because you really do not want to reduce the amount of blue cards played in the deck. And yeah, with that, I would look closely to the card, but it would make some minor impacts on the format. But yeah, really like the design of it, and yeah, kind of look forward to see the cards being played.
Oh yeah, and with this, I think we have last one.
Or a last ones or tens.
Oh yeah, and these are something me and Daniel have thought they would
Yeah.
probably never do, or we are pretty excited here actually, and pretty surprised that Wizards print something like that. We are talking about the 10 snow duels. These snowlands are fetchable snowlands. They have basic land types, and they enter the battlefield tapped always. So that's basically the downside. But what's so huge about them is that they are printed at a common rarity. So we've got here common dual lands that enter the battlefield tapped. That's something that has never something like that
Mm.
never happened before, and the only thing that's remotely comparable to them, I think, are the Amonkhet cycle lands, which are also fetchable, enter the battlefield tapped, and have cycling, and they are in the rare slot. So these are really cool. Why
Um,
don't you talk about it, Daniel?
Yeah, basically you said everything. I think this is the first time we see common fetchable dual lands, if you would summarize it like that. And for me personally, what is fascinating about this is that Wizards is kind of heading towards a way that might look like reasonable playable budget dual replacements. Of course, those versions that we see here are nowhere near playable. They're just bad lands for a legacy standard. But I like the idea.
Yeah,
Badlands
is a really bad land.
Badlands is
I
a
agree
really
on that.
bad land. Scrubland, yeah.
No, then it would be Scrublands.
I just like the direction that Wizards is doing, because I kind of had the impression that when it comes down to dual lands of any rarity, they are really trying, or let's say fetchable dual lands. Lately, they kind of I don't know, hesitated to make good versions of them, and are trying to make the downsides as big as possible. And I just like the combination of them just being tapped duels at common rarity. This combination just, it kind of surprises me a little bit, and which makes me hope that someday they might be printing a little bit of an better dual land option for budget replacements. I would
Yeah, so it's something that's better than the Shocklands, and comparable to the other duels that we play and love.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these lands have a small special place in my heart, because one deck I was always thinking that I wanted to play in my modern days were something like Scred, but I wasn't really interested in Scred Red in the mono red version, and I always wanted to play something like black red or maybe even blue red Scred. And the problem was always that it wasn't playable because there were no fetchable dual land for these decks. So it wasn't allowed for you to, because you don't want to play Blood Crypt or something like that in a deck, because it isn't a snow land and it doesn't add to the scratch count. And yeah, with that it wasn't playable for me to get into the deck. And now we have these snow duels. So yeah, really looking forward to a newer philosophy to printing cards. And if they reconsider moving back to snow every 2 to 4 or 2 to 5 years or something like that, will be definitely interesting how they adopt the strategy to improve these lands in a rare slot printing, basically.
And what I got to add here, what I really like about this special cycle now, it's that it's a full cycle. We've got all 10 of them in this set,
Yeah.
and not a half cycle like we almost always do. And I also think these cards are huge for Commander or Elder Dragon Highlander.
Yeah.
And maybe they are. I always like budget options for players of all formats, and I think they make a great real dual land impression in a format like Commander. So maybe these cards take away some of the pressure that the reserved list dual lands are under from the Commander players.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the price tag that the dual lands have now is also made up from the Commander community.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that I have to add is that the art of these 10 lands are gorgeous. These are really, really good. Point
The
finish.
only thing, the white black one is the one
The sinkhole. Yeah.
that's
this
the
is the
one I
worst.
don't like.
Yeah.
It's the worst one.
And this even does look
the rest
good
is
and is suitable for white black.
yeah, but the green white one is so nice with the northern lights on the sky. The artwork is great.
Yeah, and even on the Highland Forest,
Beautiful.
the red green one, I kind of see the tiger there, so it's
Oh yeah,
it's really really good.
cool.
It's yeah.
That will be basically my tiger proxies from now on.
Yeah, these look amazing. Yeah, Daniel, do you have anything
no, I
to add
just
on that?
agree with you guys. And like I said, I'm excited about these lands in general, and I'm looking forward what new designs of dual lands, notably, hopefully, fetchable dual lands, will come in the future. That's everything I have to say.
What I want to see, that's just me talking to myself here. What I want to see from Wizards in the future would be a fetchland cycle that only fetches from on a basic land, like Fable Passage, but not in 5 colors. So basically a cycle that fetches just for an island or a mountain.
But it hasn't be basic. Yeah, definitely.
But it has to be basic. That would be so cool and would be a really cool budget option and would be huge for Pauper also.
So you want something that fetches only for an basic island, or only for an
Or a basic mountain, yeah.
okay.
And make this a cycle.
Okay. Yeah, definitely agree on this one. This would be really, really
it's-
interesting. But it would make for
Yeah,
a
it's
brainstorm
untapped and
ban in pop, I think.
probably, but it would be a great budget option
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
for casual, for Elder Dragon Highlander, and for also for modern. I think you could build great mana bases this way
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
without the need for the rare fetchlands.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think this is a good hope to continue into 2021 or 2020 Volume 2. And yeah, with that, I think we will, finish this episode, wrap it up here. And yeah, anything to add here?
Yeah, if you like what we are doing, just like us or follow us on Twitter. It's at response_legacy. You can find me on Twitter at PhinikMTG, PhinikMTG. And you, Peter, where are you?
You can find me on Twitter. It's at Unicorn Lord, but the only Lord is a 0.
Yeah, as always,
Daniel?
also on Twitter, which is at Flying Delver. And of course, also on the Austrian Legacy stream that is happening, well, which we also, all three will be commentating. You can find me as well there, and all of us actually, yeah.
Yeah, because we are bad Magic players. So you find us on on twitch.tv/Austrian_legacy.
And there you find all the informations about the streams and when these streams happen. Also, the streams are on twitch.tv/Austrian_legacy.
Yep.
You already said that, am I sure?
Yeah, pretty much 10 seconds ago. So
Oh, okay, it's getting late. I think we now have to
Yeah.
really wrap it up. The next episode, when do we
The 2nd of February.
meet up again?
I
we
think so.
will meet.
I think.
So 2nd of February
Yes.
and the 5th of February will be the next episode airing, which will be the day of the finals of the Austrian Legacy Old Cup.
Oh yeah, and with this.
In response, the end.
Perfekt, wunderbar.
Passt.
Jetzt muss ich es abspeichern. So.
Ihr habt's nicht gestartet.
Und du machst einfach Schnipp, Schnipp, Schnipp und dann ist es weg. So schaut's aus im Schneckenhaus. Burn, Alter. Can you feel it? Ja, voll. Boah, weh. Ja, ich glaube schon. Ich habe schon viel geschaut. Ich glaube schon.